Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Darrelle Crandall, and I will be your host this evening, along with my co host, Mr. Michael Coates. Welcome to my first Community Black Cup Talk. This program was birthed out of my vision for bringing the community together to talk about what we can pour into our community cup to empower the community. Specifically, how can we help our community to engage with local law enforcement? How can we work with some community programs to uplift our youth in the community? In our society today, there is a lot of violence surrounding our youth. This evening, we want to have a short dialogue about the solution and how we can help our young people today. Tonight, I have a guest speaker, and he is Mr. Paul Tue III of Eastern Shore, Maryland. He is a co-founder of Memory Dreams Alliance, Inc. Mr. Paul, tell us a little bit about your organization and yourself.
Sure. Thank you for having me first. I want to say that to you and your co-host. I appreciate the invite. Paul Tue, native Washingtonian, been on the Eastern Shore for maybe 15 years. Memory's Dream Alliance was co-founded by myself and my partner, Doncella Wilson. It's a new nonprofit. We say we're a new nonprofit because we've been around for like 2 years, but we're not new to the work. We've been doing the work with young people for over a decade. She was working with some other nonprofits, as was I, and we kept bumping heads, kept doing stuff together. So we was like, we need to bring this under one roof, and that's what Memory's Dream Alliance is. It's a nonprofit that works to empower families, empower our young people, to change lives, to change outcomes here on the Eastern Shore.
Okay, one question. Tell us a little, just a little bit about the area you service.
Okay, for sure. So the Eastern Shore is a rural community. You have some pockets where it has a different flavor or a different vibe, like the city. But for the most part, it's rural. It's beautiful, open fields, a lot of water around here, great quality of life, but definitely a rural community. A lot of farming. Also, another industry would be our watermen. A lot of crabbing and commercial fishing and stuff like that going on the shore.
Okay.
All right, appreciate that, Brother Tue. So, real quick, with everything that you're doing, I was wondering, what are you doing with the students and the youth that you work with in regards to their conduct when they interact with police officers?
We just have honest, real conversations. We have a sign that you have to be uncomfortable. You have to get comfortable having uncomfortable conversations. One of the things that we talked about before was the initiative Arrive Alive. That was just the hashtag. All the young people, they're big on hashtags and stuff like that. So the hashtag was Arrive Alive. And what Arrive Alive was built for and focused around was just getting home. If you come in contact with law enforcement out in your car or you're stopped or however that interaction takes place, it's not your job to prove your case right then and there. It's not your job to decide, if you were right or wrong, or why is this officer stopping you? Why are these officers? Your job is to arrive at home alive. Yes. Everything else will get worked out. That's what you got mom and dad for, grandparents, that's what you have your village for. They can handle all that stuff. You're not there to mouth off or put yourself in any situations where an accident can happen. Arrive alive. So, it's short, but it's simple. Doesn't matter what happened. Doesn't matter what was going on. You get your behind home to mom and dad or whoever's taking care of you.
What age groups are your program focused on?
We encompass them all. We have a couple different programs, like with our adolescent clubhouse. That's a model where we're working with young people ages 12 to 17. We're also in our middle schools working with that population. In the elementary school, working with that population. After COVID, we feel like a lot of our young people lost some social skills. They lost those 2 years of being around their peers, learning how to communicate, interact, engage. So when school opened back up and we didn't ease back into it, like we went from being at home, doing your learning on the computer to okay, that's over, back in school,
right back in the class. Yep.
right, you know, 8 to 3,
Gotcha.
whatever that looked like. And I don't think we did a good job to slowly integrate our young people back into the classroom. So with that happening, we found our teachers here on the shore, especially here in Kent County where I'm at, reaching out, wanting help from the community because they were overwhelmed. So that's how we end up, like I said, in our elementary schools, our middle school, and our high school as well. So we encompass all youth pretty much in our program.
Awesome. I totally agree with you on that. Myself as an educator, I do feel as though the transition period from being on pretty much quarantine or in that period when we're in instruction wise being virtual to now coming back in person, you know, it truly wasn't, I don't think, a very smooth transition. It was almost like, all right, a lot of school systems were virtual, then they went to the hybrid thing. I know the school district I work for, it was the later half of the first quarter that we actually ended up going hybrid, where we had, you know, certain groups of kids in the building at one time, and then we would rotate them out with another group of kids in the building at the one time. So just that adjustment period, I think it was pretty tough on that age group, you know, for really all the youth, but the particular group I work with is middle school.
Okay.
And you know, that's that period of time that those kids are extremely sociable, and that's, if not the most important thing in their lives at that given time. So to go from truly only communicating via text and social media and anything like that to now, I got to really look and talk with you inside in these confines of being face to face, I think was very difficult for these kids to really learn to adapt and adjust. And they continue to have difficulty with adapting and adjusting to it.
I tip my hat to you as an educator. Being in the school so much, I feel like our teachers are underpaid. Like, you all have so much that you're dealing with. You're putting out so many fires. You can go home, Michael, and put a great lesson plan together and feel good about that lesson plan. And you get in the class and you put out 3 or 4 fires that had nothing to do with school or your subject or your classroom, and your period is almost over. You didn't even get into your lesson plan. So I definitely salute you as an educator, man. Like, we definitely, in this country, we have to figure out a way to pay y'all a whole lot more money and get y'all more resources for sure.
So, Paul, that goes into my next question. How has, you said something about, you know, everyone's trying to get adjust back into the school, dealing with the quality of life that we dealt with within the last 2.5 years. How has social media influenced your teens? And is there's a direct correlation between the teens using social media as teen violence? And I open that up with like TikTok, Instagram, or Snapchat.
Right.
What kind of program you all doing in reference to that?
That's a big question. You asked me a couple questions in one. I'm gonna try to tackle it all.
Take your time.
Okay. I think definitely we have to acknowledge that social media influences our young people in every facet. It influences them for some of the wrong choices, and they're exposed to too much, but then they're also able to use it to connect with people not around, not in that area. They're able to see different cultures. So social media definitely has its good and its bad. I think with our young people for sure. I think with violence, as for me, everybody wants to go viral, Brother Crandall. And I think those cameras come out and they tell on themselves so much with those cameras and being on social media. I've known of a bunch of incidents. I can count on more than just my 2 hands of it pretty much, you know, being a situation where this wasn't an on the spot or a rash decision because 3 or 4 of your friends had their phones out. So you all talked about this. You talked about approaching this person. You talked about fighting. This wasn't just a bump and a disagreement. You know how back in the day, and it just jump off.
We ain't had none of that.
Right.
Exactly.
Now you're like, okay, so if you didn't go to fight this young man or you didn't go to fight this young woman, why was it 3 people behind you with their phones out recording? That just was coincidence. So they're all looking for those viral moments. And I don't know. I mean, it's like I said, it has plenty of great benefits, but we have to figure out a way to I don't want to say control, because this generation to me, they're very, very big on respect. They're very big on not feeling like you're controlling them. This generation to me, they're so I don't want to say control, but we have to figure out a way to get them to understand they have to use it more safely, and also understand that social media can affect them long after the incident. I'm blessed and fortunate. I'm an 80s baby that, you know, if 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, probably even into my early 20s, if social media was around, I could be looked at and viewed completely different than I'm viewed now by a lot of people. My mistakes and the stuff that we was into was not, you know, you couldn't pull it up in the archive or something and find it on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram.
Preach, good brother. I think a lot of us be caught up right now.
Yeah.
But you know what's funny, just to kind of piggyback off what you're saying, I think the struggle is trying to teach them. I think you made two great points. How do we help them to positively utilize these tools? Because I think they truly are tools. If you look even on TikTok and Instagram, you have a lot of good things that are out there. On Instagram, you have a lot of different folks who have pages where they're trying to educate people on how to properly use you know, trading and stocks, and learning, you know, the next thing about crypto and the next thing that's going on technology wise. TikTok, you got folks on there teaching kids how to read, teaching folks how to pick up a new trade or a new skill, inspiration. It's a lot of good things on there. However, there is a lot of foolishness. And how do we get our kids to really understand that that's entertainment? If you want to partake in it, you need to understand the consequences of partaking in it. However, there are some great things that you yourself could actually doing on there and really making a true positive impact in the world. If you really just put your mind and your focus into really a positive manner. I think that's the struggle. But the second thing you said is really them understanding the ramifications and really the consequences of a lot of the things that they're posting on these various social media platforms. You know, like for MIG, for example, working in schools, we get a lot of them, like you said, looking for that viral moment, which most likely is a fight or something that's totally inappropriate, maladapted to the learning environment. You posting this stuff, or you posting yourself with the young ladies, posting yourself out here doing this because you want to do it for the likes, you want to do it for all the, you know, the retweets and the reposts and the hashtags or whatever. But a lot of times that stuff comes back right to you. A lot of these jobs now, they're going through folks' information. They're going through, you know, oh, you got a social media. Well, I'm going to send this down to my IT department, type in this name. I want you to run a search. What are they posting? What are the things that they partake in? Who are they following? Who's following them? You know what I'm saying? Like, most recently, we got Hulu talking about they about to drop this Freaknik joint.
Yeah.
They about to drop this Freaknik joint. Now you got all these folks talking about, look, man, Hulu need to shut that down. I'm suing. And Hulu ain't even released. They ain't even released the trailer to it yet. You got folks talking about I'm suing. Man, it catches up to you. And you know, Freaknik used to be the joint back in the day. And like you said, thank God they ain't had too much. They had camcorders.
Right.
But everybody have a smartphone where they can just readily be like, boo, and now you instantly you live and direct.
And it goes to being transparent. Like I know still to this day with my young people, I try not to be a hypocrite. I try not to soapbox them. I want to let them know I've been where y'all are. I make mistakes. I still make mistakes. But I know from the early days of Facebooks to where I'm at now as a 43-year-old man, those memories that come up from 10, 15 years ago, or, you know, the very early stages of Facebook, I'm delete. Like some of the pictures that we were posting, some of the, you know, alcohol pictures and stuff like that, no, I want it off. I want it gone. I want it scrubbed from the record. So I tell them, don't be my age, deleting. You can control it now. Scholarships have been lost from social media, tweets and stuff like that. Like you said, jobs, they're on your accounts.
I'm glad you said that. So a question will pose, how can the community partner with your organization to assist you in helping the kids?
So that's one of the things, like your fraternity have been awesome. With Darcella introduced me to the good brother Waverly, and he's brought down some of y'all brothers. Just get involved. Like that's the thing. Like Darcella hit Wave and let him know something's going on, and he's showing up, and he's bringing the crew with him. I know our African American Boys Conference. That's where we brought in young men from the Western Shore as well as the Eastern Shore. It's purposely all black men and all black young men. We lead and we run that weekend. They see us in different facets. We brought in retired officers to try to get those young men, some tips and some tools on how to work with law enforcement and arrive alive. But just reach out. We want to work with people. We can't do the work by ourselves. I mean, we know many hands make light work. We know that it takes a village, all of those things. But just, reach out. You see a flyer, you see something on our social media, and you want to come or you want to add something to it, enhance it. We aren't those people that want to sit at the table by ourselves. We want everybody at the table. So that's the only way we're going to get this thing corralled and maximize the opportunities.
And another thing, every time I speak to people and have a dialogue, we talk about what the kids doing, and I'm always talking about the law enforcement and everything and how these kids, I spent over 25 years in law enforcement and military, but do you have some kind of program educating the parents of different things they doing, in their household? Because the dialogue always talk about it starts at home. And some people don't look at it that it starts at home because we don't know exact what home look like. Do you have a mother and father, or the child has been raised by an aunt or grandmother, stuff like that? And I know you see it dealing with the youth all the time. Your thoughts?
My thoughts are that yes, we do have a parent engagement coordinator in our program, and she is a liaison between us and directly to the parents on a day-to-day. And then also just being aware and understanding that the times are different. I remember having conversations with teachers about language. You think something as innocent as a daddy-daughter dance, right? You send that flyer home, we're having a daddy-daughter dance, and the teacher thinking this is great and all the kids are going to be excited, but you had those 2-3 girls in your classroom who sink. One of them might lash out and get kicked out of class. One of them can, get rowdy, and you'll instantly think, well, discipline, or she's a behavior problem. No, you just put her in a situation. She don't have no dad at home. But you're excited and you're promoting this daddy-daughter dance. So let's change the language. You know what I'm saying? Let's man in my life and me dance, or it's just little stuff like that that can prevent problems. And teachers have to be in tune. I mean, but I'm not here to pick or bash on the teachers. The parents have to be. They have to communicate that. If grandma and granddad is raising this child, they need to figure out a way to still get into the schools and let them know that email don't work for me. I'm an old school. I'm a grandparent. I raised my kids. You need to send me hard copies of paperwork home. Don't send me a link and tell me to check these grades on my phone, because that's not my lane. I can't do that. But if you send a report card home, or you send the progress report home on paper, I can still help. So it's just us opening up those lines of communication, home and school. Because again, I said it earlier, teachers are facing a lot of stuff that has nothing to do with education. Putting out a lot of fires. I look at them as social workers. They're counselors. They're doctors. They're feeding these kids when the kids are coming in hungry. And then on the flip side of that, when you talk about the home life, we have to communicate our needs to the teachers and to the educators. And look at it like this. Me and you talked about it. We talked on the phone a couple of weeks ago, and I said that it behooves you as a parent or a caregiver to get to know your teacher. Your kids during the school year spend more time in the school with that teacher than they're spending at home.
I say that all the time to my friends.
I
say that all the time.
Yeah, so I want to get to know you. I want to have a relationship with you.
That's what I was going at it. So you think it's more, it's not a disciplinary action or behavior issue in the classroom. It's a relationship issue between that person and the teacher, or the parent and the teacher.
For sure. I hear so many times from parents, they only call or contact me when there's something wrong. And then on the flip, we have these parents only contacting or going to the school when they feel like something is wrong. Make it a point in the beginning of the year. School starting August, you be in that school before October when nothing is wrong. Shake your hand. Hey, I want to be involved this year. This is my work schedule. I might not be able to be here a lot, but I can come. When you get low on Clorox wipes, send a note home by my kid. I can send in a 6-pack of Clorox wipes. Build that rapport, open that relationship up.
Yeah, I spoke at a elementary school, and me being in law enforcement, I was SRO, school resource officer, and going into these classroom and PTA meetings, man, you just see the same people. But I don't mean to use his name, but let John or Pookie and them graduate, go to the next level. That cafeteria be packed. It feel like you got a can of pork and beans in there. That's how many people in that. And I said this at the graduation. I said, wow, what was all these people at in October at the PTA meeting? But these are things we have to pour back into that black cup I was talking about. You know, pouring in, how can we help you help us?
Yeah, you know, they just I think a lot of times the community is kind of standoffish because they may have had a maladaptive interaction with the school when they were coming up. So I know for me as an educator, that's the issue that I find. When you're trying to reach out to that parent or you're trying to reach out to that family to address certain concerns you have with a child, it's like, no, well, I had those same issues. So, it's almost like peeling a Band-Aid back on them. And now you got them coming and they attacking you as the educator. It's like, look, I just want to keep you informed about concerns I have. Or even like you said, sometimes the parents do feel like all you get from schools is bad news or this and the third. However, there is a plethora of stuff we are trying to send to you. And, we have moved and transitioned into more of a technology influenced education system. A lot of schools have websites and they're trying to post things and get the families and get the community involved. We just want to encourage families and the community stakeholders, man, take initiative. We want to be a part of the community, but we want the community to be a part of us as well, because we are, like you said earlier, Brother Paul, we got your kids for at least 7.5 hours a day.
Exactly. 5 days a week.
That's a lot of time for you not to know who these people are in front of your kids. And if you think about, like, in middle school, they don't just got the one teacher like they did in the majority of elementary school. They got 7, 8 different teachers. And you don't know none of them teachers by face or name. They in front of your kids. They in front of your kids. Like I said earlier, I always say, like, you better get in there and know who in front of your kids. I promise you, because you want the teachers to know you and be like, oh, that's Mr. Paul, folks. Hey, let me Mr. Paul, folks. Hey, young Paul, here, make sure your mama, make sure your daddy get this. All right, don't do this, because I'm telling you, if you don't put a stamp on them teachers got over 120 kids in most cases.
Wow.
And it'll benefit your kid too. I've experienced. I can share. I do. It's funny you say little Paul. I do have a little Paul, brother coach. He the fourth. But I'm gonna focus on him. It's been times where, because I've been in that school and I'm active in that school, I'll get it, and it benefits him. Hey, we're having a test. He's been struggling with this week. Focus on this when you study with him Thursday, because I want to make sure he get the best grade on Friday. And so, because I had that rapport and I get that email or that text message, I even tell him, text me. Right, the phone is always around. And they'll text me stuff like that. So I'm able. He comes home. Hey, Miss So and So said you're struggling with this. So let's focus on these fractions. All right, we're gonna drill these fractions tonight. I know what the test is on tomorrow. He looking at me, how you know? Because I know, boy. But we focus on that. We lock in on it. He come home the next day. Hey, what you get on that test? Dad, I got an 87. I was ready for them fractions. I wouldn't have got that text message if I didn't have a relationship with Miss So and So.
That's what's up. Hey, last question before we close up. I always go back to law enforcement. This is strictly to your teens, 16 to 19 years old. Has your organization taken a position on police reform? If so, what is that position?
Okay, so we have taken a position. We support our law enforcement. We know the situation and we know the climate in this country. But we're not for defunding, and doing away with law enforcement. We think law enforcement has a need in this community. We've actually spearheaded an event, and this will be the 3rd annual one coming up in Kent County. It's not new to the country or the area, but it was new to Kent County. National Night Out.
Yeah.
Like, familiar with that? So
we did it plenty of time in DC
okay.
and Prince George's County out here. We do it a lot.
So what that's looked like for the last 2 years, and God willing, it'll be the third year coming up this summer, is a kickball game. We get community vendors to come out. We try to make everything free. So all the hot dogs, hamburgers, snow cones, all that's free for the young people. DJ, they normally volunteer their time. But we play and we go to the top in Kent County. So the top for law enforcement here will be our state's attorney. We get our state's attorney to come out every year, and people out of his office, and all the way down to the detention center. So officers and then our correctional officers, and they play against me and one of my partners, Jasmine Doncella's daughter, and we get the young people around, and it's a great time. But during that event, and the state's attorney, he's been chomping at us because he wants to do more than just kickball once a year. Want to do a basketball game. But the point of it is, Brother Crandall, is to humanize both sides. Officers are humans. The community is human. Same thing we just talked about with our teachers. It's relationships. You can't come to my block or my house and rough me up and slam me down.
Exactly.
If you have a relationship with me and you know me,
that's it,
by name, or you know my dad, or you know my mom. We got away from those relationships, and it became a us against them. That's when things really skyrocketed. And of course, we know we got bad apples, right? But by and large, you don't get in the law enforcement to become rich. It's a servant's position. So for you to say I want to be an officer and put your life on the line to serve and protect, most of them got good hearts. Because again, you're not going to become a millionaire being an officer.
Talk about it.
It's not like an athlete or an actor or a comedian. It's a servant's role. Same thing with education. You're serving the people, so you don't have that heart and that dedication to want to do that. And again, put your life on the line if you don't have a good heart. So it's just trying to humanize officers, humanize our community, and build those relationships. So when trouble does come, you can rely on that. Right? If I know you, again, I pull you over. And I know your mom, and we got a relationship or something, right? And you do something stupid. I'm not gonna reach for my gun because it's, again, you're a human. I might have to snatch you up, do what I need to do to get control of the situation. But again, you're going home. I mean, after we do this process, you're gonna go home alive, which is the goal.
With that being said, I say this years ago, being in the uniform, Washington D.C., and your threat level is different than my threat level. You have law enforcement that comes in a particular area just for the money, not for the community. So you get people like that, then their head's already big, because I go back, like you said, take it old school. When you was in school, you was that one to getting bullied all the time. Now you got a badge and gun, you feel that you can violate people's right. Their Second Amendment, Third, Fifth Amendment, all amendments, because you are that top dog or top woman. But like you said, it's built on relationship. Built on relationship. I spend many years on the street and just building relationship. I used to, and I'm going to tell you my secret. I used to love working day work during the holidays because my community took care of me. I'm going to leave it like that. I never stayed wet, never stayed hungry. I was good. So with that being said, we're going to close it out. Brother Coach, any last words for Mr. Tue?
Definitely, I agree with you, Brother Paul. I think the thing that's missing, and like Brother Colonel Bracey said, lack of communication kills communities. I think that if we were to really focus on building relationships and building and establishing rapport on both sides, with the community as well as with the law enforcement, you would have a lot less of this senseless killings and tragedies that are, leaving families grief-stricken because of loss of life over something that could have simply been rectified if we had already went in and properly formed and established rapport. Because if you have a relationship with somebody, you're not going to be so apt to take their life, as we've been seeing countless times within the past couple of years. So I totally agree with you, brother. And thanks for all the work you're doing, man, just trying to rebuild the community and such a grassroots effort that you guys got going on with with Minerva's Drink?
Just say we got 30 minutes. Say your website to your organization real quick.
www.minervasdreamalliance.org. You can look us up on there, and we're on Facebook under that, and we're on Instagram as well.
All right, I appreciate your time. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for this episode. Stand free. We're gonna be coming back with some more. Thank you. Everybody have a good night.
Thank you. Y'all do the
Brother
thing.
Paul.
Likewise.
All right, be blessed.
All right, likewise. Nice.
Yeah.